Welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial, we learn about queries. In the previous lesson, we learned about tables and we created these three tables that we have here. And now you are going to learn about queries. And we said a query is a request for data results and for an action on data. And then you can use a query to answer a simple question, also to perform calculation, also to combine data from different tables, or even add, change, or delete table data. As a table grows in size, there can be hundreds of thousands of records, which makes it impossible for the user to pick out specific records from that table. Another thing is that with a query, you can apply a filter to the table's data so that you can get information that you want. You could use a query to supply data for a form or a report. In a well-designed database, the data that you want to represent by using a form or a report is often called in several tables. Now, I'm going to show you how to use queries, but before I start showing you, let's learn about relationship, because our tables must have a relationship so that we can link them. We are going to cover three of them. We have a one-to-one relationship, and then we have one-to-many, and we have many-to-many relationship. One-to-one relationship is where you link a primary key and a primary key. When we say one-to-one relationship, is when we link a primary key with a primary key. And since a primary key is unique in each and every table, that means you're going to link one record in one table and another one record in another table. And then you have one-to-many. One-to-many is where you link one table, one record in a table, and then you link to several records in the other table. For example, we have a student and we have units. So we can say a student, one student, is doing many courses or many units. And then we have many-to-many. Many-to-many is where you link several items in one table and several items in the other table. And for instance, and a good example is when you can say customers buys items in a supermarket. So it forms one table. In one table for customer, we have several customers, and then you have another table for items where these customers buy several items from the supermarket. I hope you have understood. Now you are dealing with customer and items. I've used plural to represent many-to-many. I'm going to show you how to create these relationships. Not that hard. Now you're going to come to tools, and then you will see relationship, and we are going to use the three tables, and you're going to add, or you could just pick one, add, pick another one, add, pick another one, add. Now you have these three tables, and drag them like that and like that. Now you want to create a relationship between these three tables. Now you can remember in the tables lesson, I said I used the medicine ID and doctor's ID as a foreign key. Now you can see we have this doctor's ID, medicine ID, and patient ID are bold because they are primary keys. What we mean by foreign key is that it is used in a table, but it already exists in other tables as a primary key. Now this medicine ID is a primary key for medicine table, and doctor's ID is a primary key in doctor's table. Now I'm going to link a patient table to medicine using the the primary key and the foreign key in patient table. And how do you do that? You drag using the leftmost button, and then you come and point to where you have medicine ID. Now it's going to form a one-to-many relationship because medicine ID appears only once in this medicine table, but it might appear in patient table several times. Here you can see the relationship type is one-to-many, and you have linked medicine ID and doctor's ID. Now I wanted to create medicine ID with medicine ID like that. But again, you could change it over here and then you create. Now we have a relationship of these two tables where I have linked medicine ID with medicine ID. We saw in this medicine ID isn't one record. But when you diagnose a patient and you administer medicine to that patient, you could give several patients the same medicine. I hope you're getting it. Now, we're going to go back to the relationships here. And now we want to link doctor's ID with doctor's ID. If, for example, maybe I wanted to link doctor's ID with patient ID, it's going to create one-to-one relationship because there is no repetition of doctor's ID, there's no repetition of patient ID. I hope you understand why we form one-to-one relationship. And let me try so that you can see. Now you see here it's one-to-one because both of them are primary key, and primary keys don't repeat themselves. Now I'm going to link doctor's ID with doctor's ID, this one, and I'm going to create. And when you finish, you close. I'm going to ask you to save, and you're going to say yes. And now we have relationship between the three tables. Now let's create queries. I'm going to come to query. You can use either query design view or query by using wizard. Let's use this one, and then we come back to design view. When you double click, it's going to bring you to this window, and we want to create query maybe for patient table only. We just only want to pick several field names from patient table. If you wanted to pick all of the details from this table, you could just press this one. This means the available fields means the records that are in that table, and then you come to the other side, on my right hand side, we have the selected fields, which includes the fields that have been selected so that they can be visible in our query. But I just want us to have several, maybe patient name and maybe appointment date, only that. Now you can see available fields, they are available, but I have not selected them. In this other side, I have already selected the fields. Now I'm going to come to next. And then you're going to give your query a name. Let me call it patient query. And then you finish. Now you can see we have a query that only has patient name and appointment date. Now this is what a query does. It filters certain records that they can be visible. And now you can see we have patient name and appointment date. Let's create another query where we link several tables, maybe the three of them. Now you're going to come back to this query wizard, and we are going to select a doctor's first name and maybe doctor's last name, and then we are going to come to this table called patient table and maybe pick a patient name. And then we come to medicine table and we pick medicine name. Now we have data from the three tables. And now you're going to go to next, and you're going to say maybe combined query. And you're going to finish. Since we had created a relationship, now you can see we have the details from doctor's table, a patient, and medicine. We have Jackson Maura, Arnold Kipkoech, a patient, and was administered this medicine. Now you can see we have a relationship in the three tables. The next thing we are going to use is design view, query design view, and we are going to add maybe doctor's table, add all of them, and then you close. You can see the relationship is well indicated. If you want to add this record, you can double click and then double click, or you could come here. You first select the table, medicine, and then you come on top here, select medicine name. Then you come here, you choose the table first, patient table, and then you come here and choose patient name. Now, I want to show you how to sort using design view. How to sort a query using design view. First, we have filtered some records from the three tables. I want us to sort, maybe using a doctor's first name. Now you're going to come here where you have sort, and then you left click. Then you specify if you want ascending or descending. Ascending is where you arrange from A to Z, and descending is where you arrange from Z to A. Now let's choose ascending, and then you press run over here. And when you press, you can see it has arranged the records using doctor's first name, and then here is the query. And when you come here, you can save the query and you can give it a name like sorted. And then you can say okay. And when you close, we have that query that we have created using a design view. The other thing that we can do, now we want to learn how to filter using a full name. And how do you do that? We use design view to do that. Let's just use a doctor's table only. And maybe we include first name and last name. Maybe we want to query. Let us come back to a table and see the records that we have. We have Agnes, we have Alan, and then maybe want to see the details for maybe Alan Quech. We come back to our query and we use first name to get the details for Alan. We'll come here where you have criteria and we'll write the name in full, Alan, and then we'll hit the run button and you can see the details for Alan Quech. That's simple. I'm going to repeat. You come to query design view and then use doctor, and you can put doctor's ID, first name, last name, gender, and then doctor's first name, and then you hit run. And now you can see the details for Dr. Allen, and they are indicated there. Now let's query for the doctors who are either male or female. Let's choose the male. Then we are going to come to design query design view, choose a doctor, add, close. If you want first name, last name, and gender. If you want male doctors only, you're going to come where you have gender and then criteria. You type in the word male and then you press run, and you can see the male doctors that we have. Now you have used query to reduce that, and we are going to save, and maybe you can call it male doctors. You come here and save male doctors. And for the female, you come back to design, design view, add, you enter the fields, and then under gender, you write, we have criteria, you write female, and then you run the query, and you're going to see the female doctor that we have in this hospital. Then you save, and you can say female doctor. We can look at is when we want to search using the first letter. Maybe, for example, we want to see the doctors whose their names start with letter A. And it's not that hard. Just come back to design view, then doctors, then maybe you can include first name, last name, and gender. Maybe you want doctor's first name that start with A. You're going to write A, and either write small a or capital A. It's not case sensitive. And then you write asterisk. Asterisk is shift 8. And then you run. It's going to give you a list of doctors whose names start with letter A in doctor's first name field. And maybe you can save it. Yes. First name start with A, like that. I hope you have understood. Now the other thing that you're going to learn, let's add some records in this table. Now we come back to medicine table. Let's add price. Now we come to design view, then we add price, and we use currency. And then under format, we want to use Kenya shilling. And then decimal place, we want it to have 2 decimal place. And the description, it will just describe a certain field. Maybe, for example, you can say medicine price in Kenya shilling. It won't be displayed anyway, but when you come to design view, it's going to explain more about this field name. Then we save, then you say yes. Then when you come back, you will see we have this column added for the price. We are going to indicate the price. Maybe paracetamol is 20 shilling. Like that. And under patient table, we are going to add a new field. It's called, let's put it under date of birth. That row, maybe for it text. Yes. And then this patient is from Molo, Babanjara. that, and then we close. And back to queries. Now we want to find out patients who come from a certain region, maybe from Molo or from Nakuru or from Elbagon or from the list that we have there. And we are going to come back to design view, query design view, and we are going to come to patient, add, close, and you want maybe name and resident. And here you have criteria. If you want to view patients who come from Molo, just going to type in Molo, and then you run the query. It's going to give you a list of patients who come from Molo. Now we can save our query and call Molo patient. Now you can see our query is useful. The other thing that we are going to look is when you want to filter using date. When you come back to the patient table, we have date of birth. Patient table, we have date of birth, and we have appointment date. And the appointment date, maybe you want to see the patient who admitted in 2020 only, or in 2021 only. And how do you do that? You come to query, design view, and then I'm the patient, add, and then we choose appointment date, and we want to see the patient whose appointment date is only in 2021. How do you do that? We're going to say greater than or equal to 01-01-21, and then we run. It's going to give you a list of patients who are only admitted in 2021. If you wanted 2020, you could just change the symbol and put less than. Yeah, less than. And then when we run, it's going to give us 2020. That's easy as that. Now the next thing, we are going to filter using a currency. Here we have a medicine table. You can see we have medicine that ranges from 20 shillings to 423. Maybe you want which is greater than 200. Now we are going to come back to query, design view, and we go under medicine table, and we want medicine name and the price. Now you want medicine that has greater than 200. You're going to greater than and 200, and then we run. And you can see the medicine that is greater than 200 is amoxicillin. We have the other one and the other one. That's simple. And the other thing that we're going to look at is how to use a field in a query, but we won't display it, but it will help us to find whatever we want. Let's go to patient table. We want a patient name, gender, and resident. We just only want to view patient name and resident. So what we'll do, where we have show, we're going to uncheck this by clicking, and now you can see we have this one and this one. And maybe we can sort, so we come here and sort using patient name, and we say ascending, and then we run our query. Now you can see we have only male patients, and their names have been sorted, and you can see the resident, and they are all male, but you can't see that column which has male, but we have used that column to reduce this query, but we have not used it to present this final query that we have. Now I'm going to save this male patient, save male patient, and I hope you have understood. The other thing that you're going to look is to get records that are in between dates. When you come here where we have date of birth, maybe we want records of patients that were born between 1990 to maybe 2015 only. How do we do that? We will come here where we have query, we'll use design view, and then we pick patient, add, and we want maybe name and date of birth. Now we want patients who were born in 1990 and 2015 only. Now where you have criteria, you're going to add greater than or equal to 01-01-90, and you're going to use and, which means both conditions must be true. And the conditions we have here is must be greater than 1990 and it must be less than 2015, 01-01-15, which means 2015. Now this is how we write the query for in between dates. This is how you write a query for in between dates, and you press run, and it's going to return records for patients who were born between 1990 and 2015. And maybe we can sort them so that you can see. Sort in descending, and then run. Now you can see from 2010 all the way to 1990. We don't have someone who was born in 2015. I hope you have understood. Now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to say between dates. They're going to say OK. That's all about queries. I hope you have understood how to create queries and how to interact with queries. I'm going to reach there. Let's meet in the next lesson about forms. Goodbye.